Benvenuti a tutti, illustri relatori, graditi ospiti qui presenti e connessi da casa, a questo appuntamento di presentazione dei frutti del lavoro di Scuola Sinderesi del Centro Fede e Cultura Hurtado, in questa università, la Pontificia Università Gregoriana. È davvero una grande gioia poterci incontrare qui in presenza, sia in persona che virtualmente da ogni parte del mondo. Oggi siamo qui per presentare la nuova pubblicazione di Scuola Sinderesi dal titolo La capitale ibrida, Manila e la sua singolare cultura. Il volume è stato curato da Monsignor Samuele Sangalli ed è stato edito da Rubettino e offre la sintesi di un complesso itinerario di ricerca durato per tutto quanto l'anno accademico 2022-2023. È compiuto da una classe di circa 40 studenti, coordinati dal curatore e da vari docenti esperti nella materia. Inoltre, oggi concludiamo anche il quarto ciclo triennale, dove Scuola Sinderesi si è interrogata in merito all'interrogativo se l'urbanizzazione possa essere il destino di un'umanità sempre più globalizzata. Infatti oggi chiudiamo il ciclo che ha visto le capitali al centro delle nostre riflessioni. La prima pubblicazione ha avuto ad oggetto Roma, la seconda Città del Messico e da ultimo concludiamo con Manila. Come ogni anno abbiamo vissuto un bell'anno ricco di incontri e discussioni supportati anche dai collegamenti sulla piattaforma di insegnamento a distanza. Oggi il mio compito, e del quale sono onorato, è quello di presentare i nostri illustri relatori. Sua Eminenza, il Cardinale Luis Antonio Tagle, prefetto del Dicastero per l'Evangelizzazione. Il Cardinale ha ricoperto diverse posizioni di rilievo nella Chiesa Cattolica, tra cui l'Arcivescovato di Manila dal 2011 al 2019. Nel 2012 è stato creato cardinale da Papa Benedetto XVI e fino al 2022 ha ricoperto l'incarico di presidente della Caritas Internationalis. Ha svolto un ruolo significativo nel dibattito pubblico sulle questioni sociali nelle Filippine e ha partecipato attivamente al dialogo interreligioso a livello internazionale. Nel dicembre 2019 è stato nominato prefetto per la Congregazione per l'Evangelizzazione dei Popoli, posizione che ricopre tutt'oggi. Sua Eccellenza Myla Grace Eugenia McCalling, ambasciatrice delle Filippine presso la Santa Sede, ha ottenuto un baccalaureato in scienze peschiere e un master in management all'University of Philippines Visayas e ha proseguito gli studi in Economic Development and Diplomacy all'Asian Institute of Management. È stata nominata nel corrente incarico alla fine del 2021, la diplomatica però ha ricoperto diversi incarichi nel Dipartimento degli Affari Esteri filippino per ben 23 anni. E il professor Albert Alejo, docente incaricato e associato presso la Facoltà di Scienze Sociali della Pontificia Università Gregoriana. È un gesuita filippino, antropologo, attivista e poeta in Tagalog. È laureato in antropologia sociale alla School of Oriental and African Studies dell'Università di Londra e prima di approdare alla Pontificia Università Gregoriana ha insegnato in vari atenei delle Filippine. Le sue aree di interesse comprendono la corruzione, la violenza, la formazione della coscienza sociale, il dialogo interculturale, il dialogo interreligioso, la ricerca sociale e la scrittura creativa. Tuttavia, prima di cedere la parola ai nostri illustri relatori, iniziamo con i saluti del padroni di casa e inviterei il magnifico rettore della Pontificia Università Gregoriana, Mark Lewis, per un indirizzo di saluti qui sul palco. Grazie.
Eminenze, eccellenze, gentili relatori, cari studenti, graditi ospiti, amici tutti. Sono lieto di porgervi il mio sentito benvenuto oggi qui alla Pontificia Università Gregoriana in occasione della presentazione del volume The Hybrid Capital, Manila and its Singular Culture. È un'opera molto importante per la Scuola Sinderesi, come ha già detto è una complezione di 3 città, è molto importante per lo sviluppo dell'idea della città come centro di attività, di comunità. Porgo innanzitutto i miei saluti un sentimento di gratitudine a Sua Eminenza il Cardinale Luis Antonio Tagle, Pro-Prefetto per la sezione per la prima evangelizzazione e le nuove chiese, in particolare del Dicastero per l'evangelizzazione e Arcivescovo Emerito di Manila, nelle Filippine, città nelle quale è nato nel giorno della festa di San Luigi Gonzaga. Lei è una delle voci tra le più rappresentative dell'Episcopato asiatico e è molto interessato anche in nostra università e la promozione di questa facoltà di scienze sociali e specialmente nella licenza di Leadership and Management. Lei ha onorato la nostra università con la sua presenza in numerose occasioni, tra cui il simposio Towards Healing and Renewal nel febbraio di 2012, nel quale ha presentato la relazione Clergy Sexual Misconduct, Some Reflections from Asia, ancora oggi attuale purtroppo. Anche porgo i miei saluti a Sua Eccellenza Grace Regina Catalbas Macailig, ambasciatrice delle Filippine presso la Santa Sede, che anche, come ha già detto, dopo aver ottenuto il Master in Management presso l'University of the Philippines e aver proseguito gli studi in Economic Development and Diplomacy presso l'Asian Institute of Management, ha ricoperto diversi ruoli, fra cui l'Ufficio Gestioni Fiscali del Ministero degli Affari Esteri e dal novembre 2021 ambasciatrice delle Filippine presso la Santa Sede. La ringrazio per la sua presenza che ci onora e per aver partecipato ad alcune sessioni in questo percorso formativo, animata dalla curiosità di cogliere come altri percepiscono Manila e la sua cultura. Il volume che viene presentato oggi è il frutto del lavoro di un anno della Scuola Sinderesi, coordinato da Monsignore Samuele Sangali. La Scuola Sinderesi è parte dell'offerta formativa del Centro Fede e Cultura Alberto Hurtado, che dalla sua fondazione 13 anni fa offre proposte innovative cercando di andare alle frontiere della fede e delle culture e facendosi promotrice di un discernimento cristiano sulle sfide sociali contemporanee. La pedagogia ignaziana mira a formare studenti con un profilo in cui convergono le 4 C del profilo ignaziano: competent, compassionate, of conscience and committed. Desideriamo, infatti, formare studenti intellettualmente competenti, ma anche curiosi e appassionati, capaci di rapporti costruttivi, di apertura e accoglienza nei confronti delle diversità, impegnati nel discernimento politico e nella promozione della giustizia e dotati di senso critico e capaci di elaborazione progettuale. Il volume che viene presentato oggi chiude il ciclo triennale Globalization and Urbanization sulla qualità di vita nelle metropoli quale destino della globalizzazione ed è espressione di un lavoro di quadra, un lavoro corale nel quale confluiscono diverse voci e diversi punti di vista e anche le 4 C di cui vi ho parlato prima. Ringrazio molto il professore Giuseppe Bonfrate, direttore del Centro Fede e Cultura Alberto Hurtado, e in un modo molto particolare Monsignore Samuele Sangali, coordinatore della scuola, e i suoi collaboratori. Ringrazio molto anche la Fondazione Konrad Adenauer e la Fondazione Sinderesi per il loro patrocinio, e anche un ringraziamento a tutti gli studenti che hanno collaborato in questa opera. perché siete voi che avete portato avanti questo percorso e avete viaggiato, sia pure idealmente, lungo le strade di Manila. Vi auguro di continuare percorsi di studio che vi offrono le chiavi per interpretare il complesso mondo globalizzato in cui viviamo e che questo sia solo un passo di un lungo viaggio. Grazie.
È stato già citato dal magnifico rettore e per questo lo invitiamo anche ad esprimere un indirizzo di saluto il professor Giuseppe Bonfrate, direttore del Centro Fede e Cultura Alberto Hurtado, di cui Scuola Sinderesi appunto è parte. Lo invitiamo qui sul palco. Grazie.
Buonasera a tutti. Il nostro rettore ha già rappresentato i contenuti, quindi io non toglierò del tempo prezioso. L'unica cosa che mi rende felice di precisare in questo contesto è che c'è un protagonismo, che è quello dei giovani della Scuola Sinderesi, il protagonismo di un laboratorio che caratterizza fin dalla fondazione il Centro Fede e Cultura Alberto Hurtado, un laboratorio che con Sinderesi si precisa proprio nell'attitudine che questa parola, questa categoria, questa accezione Sinderesi esprime. Il fatto di poter vedere, distinguere, ci precisa proprio nell'attitudine di uno sguardo. Sinderesi è dentro il Centro Hurtado lo sguardo che sa riconoscere, lo sguardo che sa distinguere. E quello sguardo oggi ci restituisce l'evidenza di una città che è esemplare soprattutto di un principio che potrebbe essere non considerato positivo, cioè della possibilità di immaginare la compatibilità delle differenze, dove compatibilità nel suo etimo ha a che fare con l'espressione compassione, cioè la capacità di immedesimarsi, sentire, appassionarsi insieme, soffrire insieme. Le differenze in genere provocano ostilmente sofferenza. In questo caso, nello sguardo di Sinderesi, vediamo la possibilità di una compatibilità delle differenze. Grazie.
Invito ora il dottor Nino Galletti, direttore della Fondazione Konrad Adenauer a Roma, primo e convinto sostenitore della scuola sin dalle sue origini. Anche quest'anno la Konrad Adenauer ha gentilmente coperto le spese della pubblicazione e ha patrocinato le ricerche insieme alla Fondazione Sinderesi. Prego, dottor Nino Galletti.
Grazie, Eminenza, Eccellenza, signore e signori, cari amici. Da molti anni la Scuola Sinderesi collabora con la Fondazione Konrad Adenauer. Negli ultimi anni ci siamo concentrati sulle grandi città e sulla convivenza nelle grandi città in un mondo sempre più globalizzato. Ne è nato anche il libro sulla città di Manila che presentiamo oggi. Manila è un simbolo della globalizzazione e la sua crescita annuale è la prova dei tempi veloci in cui viviamo. In una realtà del genere, ciò che rimane sono valori e convinzioni che possono essere portati avanti attraverso gli strumenti della cooperazione. Questo libro è un importante contributo alla comprensione dei cambiamenti in atto a Manila. Il discorso interreligioso qui rappresentato apre nuove possibilità di scambio e opportunità di grande rilevanza. Vengono esplorati la storia e il patrimonio culturale delle Filippine e la loro interazione con le nuove tendenze come l'urbanizzazione e la democratizzazione. Da oltre 30 anni la Fondazione Konrad Adenauer ha un proprio ufficio a Manila, infatti uno dei più grandi uffici della Fondazione al mondo intero. Il nostro compito è rafforzare la democrazia e la società civile. Sono quindi lieto che con la nostra Senior Program Manager nell'ufficio di Manila, signora Tonette Jesus, una esperta della realtà politica, abbia scritto un articolo intitolato A Fragile Democracy Beyond Corruption and Dynasties. Konrad Adenauer, il primo cancelliere della Repubblica Federale di Germania e allo stesso tempo lui che ha dato il nome alla nostra fondazione, ha detto una volta: nulla è sostenibile senza le istituzioni, ma nulla è possibile senza le persone. A questo proposito vorrei ringraziare tutti loro che hanno partecipato a questo progetto, come lo staff della Pontificia Università Gregoriana e dello Centro Alberto Hurtado. Ma in particolare devo ringraziare Monsignore Samuele Sangalli. Senza il suo impegno questo libro non sarebbe stato possibile. Purtroppo non è con noi stasera. È sempre un piacere lavorare con lui e con il suo staff e sono già in attesa dei prossimi progetti. Grazie.
Adesso entriamo nel vivo della nostra serata. Grazie ai nostri illustri relatori, soprattutto a partire da quello che è il loro ambito di competenza, per aiutarci a riflettere sulle tematiche affrontate e a commentare i punti di vista esposti nel volume. Ci interessa il vostro autorevole parere, che contribuisce a comprendere una delle sfide qualificanti della nostra epoca, ossia il moderno organizzarsi della città e dell'uomo. Inizierei con Sua Eminenza il Cardinale Luis Antonio Tagle, a cui chiediamo di parlarci come sia possibile inculturare il Vangelo nella megalopoli di Manila, oggi a 500 anni dal primo annuncio, per offrirci le sue descrizioni e i suoi auspici. Prego, Eminenza.
Buonasera a tutti, Eminenza. Vi ringrazio per l'invito di partecipare in questa presentazione del libro, no? Però ho ricevuto la versione in inglese. No?
No, solo in inglese.
Solo in inglese? Ok, so io parlerò in inglese. So I congratulate and thank the Alberto Hurtado Center for Faith and Culture of the Pontifical Gregorian University and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, the lecturers, the students, the researchers, and the young leaders. Monsignor Sangalli, La Beata Antonella, all those who worked together to produce this magnificent book. I also thank Manila for allowing itself to be the subject of such an interesting study. I do not intend to comment on every chapter of the book, since I was given the liberty to craft my intervention. I thought I would present a more personal and narrative commentary on some aspects of the historical, cultural, political, anthropological, ecumenical, interreligious, ecological, and ecclesial realities raised in the book. Warning, huh? I speak as one who was born in Manila but raised outside of Manila. And I studied in Manila, and later on I became the 32nd Archbishop of Manila. So I don't know whether my sharing with you would make much sense, or I say in an orderly manner. But that's okay. That's the description of Manila. The crowded spaces, the crazy traffic, traffic of cars, persons, food, even drugs, the noise, the disorder of Manila. These things kept coming up in the description of the city of the metropolitan area, or even of its people. So I want to give you a taste of that disorder, in my presentation. First, I remember an American sister who was assigned to Manila after being superior general of her religious order. Her first observation in my dialogue with her, she said, there is no logic to driving in Manila. The traffic is so bad, I can't understand the logic here. I said, yeah, sister, there is no logic. You just drive. Just drive. And then after 6 months, I meet her again, and she said, Your Eminence, I found the logic. I said, you found the logic of driving here in Manila? And she said, yes. So what is it? Tell me, what is the logic? She said, find your space. Why stay on the same lane when there is a space out there? Go, grab it. Find your space. And I said, yeah, that's a good description of Manila. You complain about the traffic, you complain about the crowds, but everyone finds his or her space. Find your way. Or in Filipino, humanap ka ng paraan. Hanapin mo ang daan. Find your way. Find the space. And as you complain and lament, you look for space. You look for opportunities. You look for little spaces. You improvise. And we're very good in that. Improvisation. Sometimes the spaces are wide open or are wide. Sometimes the spaces are small. Some spaces are illegally occupied. Not only by the poor, by the way, but mostly by the rich, who very often are more desperate than the poor. That's why they are in a hurry to grab spaces. Now, talking about the poor and the rich, the studies in the book point justly, rightly, to the sad and scandalizing discrepancy between the poor and the rich in Manila. Thanks to the various perspectives, especially the painful questions raised about the Christian faith, the Christian religion, and ethics. Do they meet? And why do they don't meet? But caught in the traffic, I will find a paraan. I will find a way. In search of searching very clearly the discrepancy, how about searching the spaces where both the rich and the poor are present? Where are they present? We already know where they are separated. But in good Manila style, look for another space. Where are they connected? And where else? In the Basilica of the Black Nazarene in Quiapo, venerating the image of Jesus carrying the cross and falling, they said, for the second time. There, the rich and the poor come together. The Basilica of our Mother of Perpetual Help. In the many churches named after the child Jesus, Santo Niño, especially on Thursdays, in the church or the parish of St. Jude. The rich and the poor, they meet in Divisoria, that place where everyone wants to have big discounts in their purchases. So they meet in the common human condition of helplessness, in their need for someone greater to whom they can run. They meet in common anguish. They also meet in rosaries hanging on the mirrors of their vehicles, whether it is the lowly jeepney or the latest model of the Mercedes-Benz. They all have rosaries. They meet in the internet. They say the Philippines is the texting capital of the world. They also meet in their common craving for adobo, for pancit, for chicharrones, for sinigang. I think we will have some after. And when the elite get tired of fine dining, they search for common food, specially prepared in the simple and traditional ways in the carinderias of the poor. Yes, they meet. Why do we seldom talk about those meeting places? Maybe that's where faith and culture also meet. Now, talking of ethics, are you lost already in the traffic that I am creating? No, talking of ethics, the challenges posed by our experts, lecturers, are a call to personal and communitarian examination of conscience. In my years in Manila, I found another way. I realized how ethical thinking and practice are present among the poor. Yes, we appreciate the ethical teaching in universities and even by leaders in civil society. But how about finding another way? Oh, you get caught in traffic, and reading heavy books, ethical books, gets tiring. Why not go another way? Go to the poor and see how much they understand Christian ethics and how they can teach us. I remember caught in traffic, and those of you who have been to Manila in one major road near the Archbishop's residence, once caught in traffic in the car of my friend. You know how it is when the traffic lights turn red. The vendors, those sellers of water, candies, flowers, and whatever, they come, selling their wares. And they approached the car of my friend, selling things, cookies, and the driver of my friend politely told them, "We are not buying." So they went to the cars behind us. One of them came back, waving a whole packet of cookies, which we call barquillos, which is very good with gelato. And he was calling me. He said, "Cardinal, Cardinal." So the driver said, "No, sir, we're not buying." But he did not leave. He said, "Cardinal, Cardinal." So I lowered the window. And the driver and my friend said, "Sir, sorry, we are not buying." But he said, "But I am not selling. I want to give this as a gift to the cardinal." We are all talking about the horizon of gift and not profit. This poor man who needs every peso to survive understood what gift is. Understood that there is something more important than profit. Gift. I felt like I was being taught a lesson from the cathedral of the sidewalk of Manila. There was a fire that raged in one very crowded part of Manila, Parola. I visited it, and the people told us that when they heard the alarm, now these are slum areas. No? When they heard the alarm, what did they do? They said, Your Eminence, we have a standing rule here. To save the community, every family must put outside of their house whatever water they have, even if it is just a glass of water, so that everyone would contribute to the water to kill the fire. And they said, we tried our best. Everything is gone. But we have ourselves. They did not go to economics class, but they knew what sharing was. There was a drug addict who sold everything that his family had. His mother, who was a migrant in Australia, learned about it and came home and found her son homeless, sleeping on the streets of Manila. The mother slept with her son every night. She became homeless with her son. And the son recovered. The family was reconstituted. No wonder the most joyful, warm, and musical people in Manila are also in the poorest places, in those crowded, noisy places. So we should discover with amazement how those flowers could bloom in the desert of misery, the greatness of the little ones. And talking about the little ones and their greatness, the little ones, our Filipino migrants, bring Manila and the rest of the Philippines wherever they go. Manila is globalized by the Filipino migrants. And they bring everywhere, and here certainly in Rome, they bring their noise. They bring their brand of disorderliness. They bring their adobo. They bring their devotions. They bring their conflicts too. They bring their simbang gabi. No. Yeah. Manila is known for the many centers of education and formation, especially for seminarians, religious institutes, and lay leaders. They are centers for evangelization. But our great missionaries, our greatest missionaries, are those who witness to the world. They witness to the power of love that is willing to endure pain, the pain of being separated from family, in order to find a way, humanap ng paraan, when the traffic of life produces almost like immobility, when life produces much traffic and congestion, then they find a way. Yes, Manila is crowded and can be unruly, but maybe only for a detached observer. Once you enter the crowd, the noise, and the disorder of Manila, all of those will enter you. Crowded Manila still carries the 2 world records for the biggest assembly ever gathered for papal masses. In 1995, the closing mass of the World Youth Day with Pope John Paul II, for many years, that has been the record, 5 million people. But it has been surpassed 20 years later. 2015, the closing mass of the pastoral visit of Pope Francis, 6 million people under the rain, buffeted by winds because there was a typhoon. Oh, the images just come back. You have the poor, you have the rich, the politicians, the police, the business people, the street vendors. Find your space. Find your space. And everyone found a space. And they found their way to each other. Thank you.
Grazie. Proseguiamo ora con l'intervento dell'ambasciatrice, Sua Eccellenza Maila Grace Rajenia Machailig, a cui chiediamo di parlarci delle sfide e delle prospettive di un modello di convivenza e di sviluppo come quello offerto da una città, da una capitale come quella di Manila. Prego, Eccellenza.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. After listening to that intervention from His Eminence Cardinal Tagle, I'm loath to speaking. Actually, I want to keep quiet and contemplate all the more in the points that he has raised. But duty calls, so I have been tasked to put in my 2 cents worth this afternoon on the book that was the product of the seminar on Manila for this year. First off, I'd like to thank the school and Konrad Adenauer for this opportunity to have been able to take part in a couple of sessions of the seminar. I've heard a good number of points raised then, and as a Filipino and as a member of the Philippine government, it gave me pause. It gave me a big time to reflect all the more in why I have chosen this path to represent the Philippine government. Like what the Cardinal has mentioned, Manila, like being part of Philippine government, will always be a challenge. It's both a sweet ride and it's also a headache. For the most part, it is how you will deal with Manila and how you will deal with your duty that will be the cost for you to leave your mark in the task. So for this afternoon, I'd like to just focus on 3 main points that have come to my mind reading through the materials that were presented during the seminar. Manila is always a melting pot, has been since the time it was established, still up to now. In a country of more than 7,500 islands, 110 million people, and at least 150 ethno-linguistic groups, you cannot be but a melting pot. And the challenge for everyone in Manila, in particular, is that it's the capital and it's the center. So it is the biggest draw in terms of where people from all parts of the Philippines will go to. The size of the city itself is not huge, but the greater metropolitan area has expanded so that it has included the other cities that now comprise what is known as Metro Manila. Size-wise, population-wise, the population, you'd see a big dip in the evenings when there's a good number that also go out of the city. But on a day-to-day basis, it's what the cardinal said: crowded, loud, colorful. It can assault your senses in all aspects, but it can be a busy hub. It is a strong center where people will see each other and discuss points that they can will see each other so that they can meet up for what they would need outside of their day-to-day. When you talk of Manila as a center, you cannot discount the fact that it has also seen a rapid urbanization that is causing its problems as well. For its size, like what we mentioned, it is sort of bursting at the seams from all the people from the provinces who come through to find work or to try to study within the capital. But more than anything else, I think it's also the responsibility still of government to ensure that the resources are such that it is better spread so that there's no major inflow into the capital, and try to get people to move towards the other urban centers throughout the country. As always, the main challenge for government is finding that reasonable and acceptable balance or a middle ground where you will have competing targets for industrialization against ensuring that you have ecological and environmental concerns addressed. Manila, for the most part, is seeing, like what we said earlier, an urbanization that is causing concerns in terms of its resources. Within Manila itself, you'd have pockets of microspatial environmental differences. So you'd see areas where you have cities blooming, buildings being built, and you will have more need of air conditioning and the like. And these are concerns that continue to be an issue that the Philippine government is trying to address in terms of its environmental policy program that is still in its, I would say, infancy stage, because we are still trying to, again, balance out the need to modernize, the need to have more modernized manufacturing processes within the capital, but still make sure that the environmental requirements are met adequately so that you ensure that the resources are there for the future generation. Finally, I think one of the important things that we keep in mind is that at the crux of development will always still be people. With 110 million population, 10% of which live and work outside the country, it is important that we make sure that the people that are actually going out of the country, especially those who have developed new skills or new capacities, also still look back at the Philippines so that they bring their extra resources, extra knowledge, back to where it will be of most use. There are programs that will try to draw back scholars, scientists who have managed to live and work and be trained abroad, so that they can have the opportunity to transfer or bring back the knowledge that they have gained from outside the country to the industries and to the universities that will benefit greatly from all these additional knowledge that have been gained outside. Economically, the 10% of the population that live and work outside the Philippines have made significant impact in terms of remittances that they have brought in. During the financial crisis in the 80s and even with the impact of COVID in the last couple of years, the resources that have flowed into the country from the overseas Filipinos who live and work outside the Philippines have been significant to have propped up the economy of the country. Now, more than being sources of remittance, these Filipinos, like what the Cardinal has mentioned, are truly the best representatives of the country that we can send. When they move out of the country, they bring with them Philippine traditions, Filipino values, and Filipino aspirations. And as they integrate in the different countries and communities that they find themselves in, they also allow the other countries and the new communities that they have settled in to have a glimpse of what it is in the Philippines and how it is to be Filipino. And in that, we hope that they also are able to bring to you, to the wider community of nations, the spirit and the thought and the heart of the Filipino people. As a representative of the Philippine government, it always gives me great pride when I see our kababayans, other Filipinos, who have settled in their new countries but remain to be strong in their support for the country and in their identity as Filipinos. With that community outside the Philippines continuing on with their spirit and heart of Filipino-ness, we believe that the Filipino community outside the country will make a very significant contribution, not just to the Philippines, but to the countries that they have settled in. And we hope that in doing that, we see the commonalities between the Philippines and the other countries, the rest of the world, that the issues that we may have had, if you read our history, we may have had our political and economic misadventures through time, but the heart of the Filipino will always be for the country and for its people. And the definition that we have of family is not just the core family, but the people that we all come in contact with. If you notice the Filipino communities that you encounter here in Italy, you will find that they will look at you not just as an Italian, a foreign national, somebody that they will have to deal with, but you become part of the family that they have identified for themselves. In a way, Manila has fostered that because, again, being a melting pot, it has welcomed a good number of other Filipinos from different parts of the country with different cultural backgrounds, different educational achievements, but it has fostered a sense of being part of the community. So, as you ponder the points raised in the book, I don't really want to be an apologist for all the pains and ills that may have been brought forth, but it is of vital importance that we recognize that notwithstanding all the problems and all the challenges that Manila continues to face, you will always have people that will work for it moving forward. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity to address you, and we congratulate the Gregorian University and this whole team for coming up with this activity. Maraming salamat po.
Diamo ora la parola al professor Albert Alejo che ci ha aiutato in questa ricerca. Professore, ci offre alcune linee di considerazione sull'identità filippina di Manila e come questa possa essere messaggio per l'Asia e per l'Occidente. Grazie, professore.
Good afternoon, Your Eminence, Cardinal Tagle, my advisor in my theology thesis, maybe he forgot. Her Excellency, Mahila, Makahilig, Cardinal said we have to find our way to Manila. There are many ways, and probably the quickest would be, let's go to Manila now. It's getting nearer, the the Christmas, and probably you'll go to Mall of Asia, where you have everything. It's the biggest mall in the whole of Asia. And you will see, starting from September, the Burr months, we celebrate Christmas already. And now the other way of another approach to Manila would be demography. According to Demography of World Urban Areas, the Metro Manila has a high density, especially the city of Manila, 43,000. We have, we're one of the most the high built-up urban area of 873 square kilometers, with a population density of 33,135 persons per square mile. This makes Manila the fourth largest urban area and one of the highest in population density all over the world. Now, take note when you say Manila, that is the city of Manila, but in general, we're talking about Metro Manila, which is bigger. Now, and if you go to Manila, then you'll see from the airplane this kind of scenario. Now, another way of approaching Manila would be to read some history. Then you see a different kind of map. And there are a number of European books, especially coming from the Netherlands and Spain, as the visitors of Manila would give you an insight on how Manila looked like in the past centuries. But a more contemporary approach would be just walk around using your senses of seeing, smelling, hearing, etc., and tasting. As a matter of fact, food out there is waiting for us. No? But I like this approach because you want to touch and smell and feel, not just talk about the traffic, for example, and the food. Now, one big storyteller is Nick Joaquin. He's a very good storyteller, and he grew up in Manila, and he has an almanac for Manileños, and that would be a good starting point if you want to read on Manila. He also has a book, My Manila, which started as an introduction to the kids, but it became a standard book. Now, that bus is the yellow bus, the Diyos Bus Transit, which I took. It's brought me from my village, some 20 kilometers from Manila. And imagine me with that person crossing the street. So what I'm going to do now is to approach Manila via my own personal experience. That's why I call it auto-ethnographic narrative. Now, I was born in the south, in Mindanao, but my father was from near Manila, went to Mindanao, and he discovered Cinderella. When he went back to Manila, he brought this little Albert Alejo. And my grade school days was very important. I stayed I went to a small primary school. When I was in grade 1, there was no grade 6 yet. So it's a small public elementary school, and when it rained, it flooded, and we would just frolic in the flood and catch and fish. I grew up catching spiders and frogs and killing snakes. And it was very, very important. But then I was fortunate to have a teacher, Mr. Venancio Minjola, who brought me to Manila. My father bought me Webster Dictionary, and in the whole school, I was the only one who had a Webster Dictionary. We had no library, we had no internet, of course. But I had a good teacher who brought me to the National Bookstore, the National Library, the National Museum, the Haraya Gallery. So even when I was a small, poor kid, I knew about Impressionism and the pointillism and post-impressionism in paintings. I was initiated into appreciating Corinthian style of architecture. And lo and behold, when I went to Manila, I saw, oh, that's Corinthian style. Oh, that's Doric. That's Ionic architecture. To realize, well, I had no historical sense yet, but I realized Manila, from the perspective of a little boy, was already a buzzing city with influences from Europe. And then later on, American influence. But you can see in the old Manila architecture, the Roman arch of the cathedral, and also the big pillars. Now, when I came to the Gregorian, okay. So here, pillars and colonnades are very common. But for us, for a small boy from the province, that was great. That was great. And I was fortunate to go to Manila also with the what we called educational trips. One, of course, one good trip would be the Fort Santiago, where I saw the image of Jose Rizal, our national hero, writing his Mi Ultimo Adios before he was executed by the Spaniards. So I'll speak very quickly and forget about this. And, and in high school, the good thing is that there was a library in the parochial school. And my favorite section in the library was the collection of the great ideas, Encyclopedia of Great Ideas, where I bumped into Immanuel Kant and Blaise Pascal, etc. And of course, I did not understand them, but at least I was exposed to these names. My teacher from the grade school ran after me, insisting that I should read these books by Anne Frank, who was a victim of the Holocaust, etc. So it was from him that I learned also the rosy fingers of dawn from the Greek epic poetry. Wow. So for this little boy, Manila was not just not a pot of gold, but it was a fantasy where education was possible. There will be more books. Now, I'd like to go back to this issue of book. When I was in grade 6, when I finished grade 6, during the summer break, I helped in unloading one truckload of books coming from the U.S. And I rewarded myself by stealing one volume. I said, well, after all, I worked hard. And I said, this particular volume probably nobody would be interested in. And what was that? The book was Brainwashing in Red China. And it proved to be very helpful. Aside from the Bible, when I was in high school, first year and second year high school, I attended the secret seminars conducted by the communist activists. And so, I saw the central map of China as the center of the world, and we went to hidden places to study history and the oppression of the poor. But when I went back to our house, I would read some parts of the Bible and the brainwashing in Red China. So I would say, I should not be fooled. I learned something from him, but that was indoctrination. That was brainwashing. And so I realized that Manila was a center for analyzing society and the structures. My father also was a good reader. He was not an activist, but every time he would read something from Asia Philippines Leader, he would say, Bert, look at these students from Manila. They're staging a rally. I like them. They fight for the rights. Yeah, maybe it's something like when you grow up, you also have to stand on your principles. And not only that, he loved our language, Tagalog. So I would help him in filling up the crossword puzzle. And along the way, while we were filling up the crossword puzzles, he would tell me stories about the Japanese occupation, how the Japanese tortured our ancestors. But then during the time, he was a little boy, during the Japanese period, he rowed the boat carrying coconuts to Manila. So slowly I got to know that we had a share. We have a share of the 1.5 kilometers of shoreline with Manila Bay. Later on, I got interested in social analysis, but at the same time, my Boy Scouts principles, on my honor, I'll do my best to do my duty to God and my country. I started thinking about life, and the philosophies which I got from the parochial high school library started me to thinking of God, of the afterlife, of virtues. And so I became a catechist, and that started me to hear about, not the Jesuits, never heard about the Jesuits, about the University of Santo Tomas. I wanted to become a scientist, so I went to the Dominican University. My first year was in biochemistry. But then, while I was in the Dominican University, I started reading about the Jesuits. I got to know about these kind of animals. They were academics and activists, and they wrote books, and they somehow prayed. And I asked the parish priest, who are these Jesuits? He said, they're good. And so I shifted from biochemistry to philosophy in order to become a priest, but my father said no. So, okay, I postponed it. But during my college days, I get to see the rallies, the protest movements. I get to see the violence of martial law. And it was very important. When I became a Jesuit, all the more we were exposed to the workers. My labor, I was engaged in the labor movement until I became the director of the Archdiocese of Manila Labor Center. Now, part of being a Jesuit is that you are forced to study. And my provincial said, oh, Bert, you have to go abroad. Why? Anyway, I obeyed because he said, your future assignment will not be determined by you. You want to go and work with the grassroots, but if the future provincial wants a Jesuit with a PhD, and you don't have a PhD, you have disobeyed in advance. And so I went. My first stop was in Spain. I spent 1 month just to pick up a little Spanish. And there I saw the big basilicas. Our cathedral was a small chapel compared to Toledo, and and the Catholic images in calendars, Murillo, etc., turned out to be real. Huge paintings in Museo del Prado in Thyssen. My God! But then I also saw the armories. Oh, I thought these were just paintings and drawings. No, look at those artilleries. These were what the colonizers used to kill our heroes. I had a sense of pain there. But then I had the chance to visit the Spanish Cortes. And right before that was a plaza, and there was a bench, and I was following a brochure where our national hero, like Jose Rizal, staged rallies. So with tears, I imagined our heroes They were very young then, staging a protest, for independence from Mother Spain, who brought colonialism and Catholicism at the same time. And then that brought me to remember the rallies that I saw in Manila. They were connected. The freedoms that we're experiencing came from the struggle of our earlier heroes. And so, and the vision of the memory of our heroes fighting for independence connected my memories of struggle in the Philippines. But at the same time, I also had this vocation to become a priest, to be a man of the church. And so Manila, for me, was the discernment period, a place where there was a struggle within, that I treasure this faith. At the same time, the form of the faith that came to us came with violence. And that's why when we mention Manila as a complex city, it is really complex. And then I went to London. I thought I knew a little bit of English, but it was very far from enough. The British would say, "I like the way you speak English. It's rather cute." But then I realized also that at a certain point, the British also occupied Manila for 2 years because the Philippines was a target, because it was part of Spain. And historically and geographically, Manila was an important, was a strategic point for conflict, for competition, European competition in Asia and the Pacific. Now, this will be long, but when I came back, I worked with the indigenous peoples, and there I saw the plantation economy from the United States and other parts of Europe. And I see that the income gotten from the mining companies from Mindanao were being taken to Manila. So Manila became for me a source of education, yes, a source of a training ground for leaders, yes, but also a source of conflict. Everything was happening in Manila, the decision making, and the researchers would go to Mindanao and other parts of the country, taking data, but the analysis and the publication of the research would happen in central Manila. Manila was, in a way, a microcosm of imperialism. That's why it's called Manila imperialism. And then, anyway, it's getting long. But so you can imagine that from this village, this small boy slowly got into inhaling and imbibing the spirit and the smell, the scent of Manila, and almost knowing Manila by experience. But then you realize, no, there's still so much to be learned and to be imbibed about Manila. And I got from Ateneo, from all these conflicts, and more recently in the violent extrajudicial killings under the rule of Mayor, then President Duterte. Okay, now the Pope visited us with the message of compassion, but once it turned around, it became very violent. So Manila now becomes a stage of violence. The killings done elsewhere were multiplied when the killings were concentrated in Manila, and it is a challenge to the church. Who is going to speak? With 1,000 killings a month, who is going to speak? And so some of the nuns and the Catholic school students marched, and we had masses even in the streets, and some rituals. It's complicated. So I hope you would pay attention to complicated cities like Manila and to try our theories. But on a lighter mode, you try also our cuisine. I miss Filipino food. Il mio medico dice: padre, devi evitare il pane, il pasta, il pizza, il dolce, il vino. Oh, quindi devo lasciare l'Italia. But according to him, no, riso è meglio. So maybe I can end here. Manila for me is a discovery of contrasts and pain and joy and falling and bouncing back. It's interesting. Maybe I can end with a quote. Being a city of extreme contrasts, it's easy to see how it can become an intense personal experience. Manila can be chaotic and spiritual, dirty and divine, gritty and gorgeous, all at once. If you don't find beauty and poetry here, you'll never find it anywhere. Thanks.
Concludiamo la nostra serata con il saluto finale della dottoressa Antonella Piccinin, coordinatrice della Scuola Sinderesi, insieme a Monsignor Samuele Sangalli, che oggi non è potuto essere qui. Dottoressa Antonella Piccinin, prego.
Grazie Giulio, e permettetemi solo 2 parole in conclusione. Anche a nome di Monsignor Sangalli, che appunto non è potuto essere qui stasera, un sentito ringraziamento ai nostri relatori, alle autorità presenti, agli amici e alle istituzioni come la Fondazione Konrad Adenauer, che ci hanno sostenuto e seguiti da sempre, da quando Scuola Sinderesi è nata, e a tutti voi che siete venuti a condividere questa serata con noi, sia qui in presenza, purtroppo anche il libro è stanco, sia in presenza che online. Come già anticipato, con il testo che stiamo presentando si compie il 4º ciclo triennale di Scuola Sinderesi, che ha studiato il fenomeno della urbanizzazione come probabile destino di un mondo globalizzato. Sorge allora quasi spontaneo il desiderio di comparare quanto riassunto anche questa sera dai nostri relatori con i risultati delle ricerche dei 2 anni precedenti e lo studio che abbiamo affrontato 3 anni fa su Roma, 2 anni fa Città del Messico. Va anzitutto osservato che più si analizzano e maggiormente le megalopoli appaiono davvero come occasioni di nuove opportunità, ma anche quali possibili generatori di insicurezze, solitudini e inaccettabili uguaglianze. L'abbiamo sentito questa sera a più riprese. Come per Roma e Città del Messico, però, la popolazione di Manila, anche questo l'abbiamo sentito, abbiamo 3 rappresentanti qui, reagisce con la vitalità propria di un popolo che non si rassegna a destini prefissati e che in questo caso particolare, tenendo conto di tutte le caratteristiche antropologiche descritte della complessità, sia descritte nel testo che ricordate questa sera, sembra singolarmente destinato a qualificarsi come un vero e proprio laboratorio di inclusività, di convivenza tra portatori di culture e tradizioni molto diverse tra loro, un vero e proprio meticciato di queste culture e tradizioni, però auspicabilmente rispettoso delle peculiarità di ognuno. Ricordiamo in particolare il riconoscimento particolare dell'altro e della sua dignità, come ricorda spesso Papa Francesco, in particolare viene riportato nella Fratelli Tutti. Il nostro triennio di studio su 3 grandi città del mondo contemporaneo ci ha fatto prendere coscienza che accanto a tante contraddizioni e disuguaglianze, lo specifico di questi agglomerati è comunque la capacità di contenere e integrare persone e vicende nuove nella storia delle città stesse che abbiamo studiato. C'è quasi quindi, secondo noi, una forza naturale di solidarietà, anche se spesso è dettata dalla disperazione o dall'istinto di sopravvivenza, che però sa andare anche oltre le meschinità e gli egoismi umani e che rappresenta quindi un esauribile deposito di speranza di fronte a grandi sfide che attendono l'umanità e che ci interessano tutti. Scuola Sinderesi intende quindi continuare nei prossimi anni ad interrogarsi e a comprendere ulteriormente queste sfide globali. Inizieremo a gennaio un nuovo percorso e un nuovo triennio con uno sguardo fissato sul Mediterraneo. In particolare sulla situazione libanese. Ho portato alcune brochure, le trovate anche fuori per chi è interessato. Il Libano infatti è un po' il crocevia del conflitto o della possibile convivenza in Terra Santa e nell'intero Medio Oriente, così importante ed esemplificativa per tutta l'umanità, lo stiamo sperimentando quotidianamente. Le iscrizioni per il prossimo anno saranno aperte presto, dal 19 dicembre, per chi volesse partecipare a questo itinerario che è multidisciplinare, credo che un pochino si sia percepito, ed è un itinerario sicuramente individuale, quindi ognuno è chiamato a portare se stesso, la propria esperienza, il proprio punto di vista, ma è ovviamente di gruppo, quindi il nostro intento è quello di confrontarci costantemente. Ed è condotto secondo l'ormai noto modello di discernimento sociale offerto proprio da Scuola Sinderesi, ormai da 13 anni, che permetterà quindi di ripercorrere le tappe storiche della complessa situazione del paese dei cedri, per poi comprenderne le presenti dinamiche geopolitiche, sociologiche, istituzionali e religiose. Anche questo è stato il modello di Scuola Sinderesi sin dall'inizio. Tutto questo sempre con il prezioso aiuto di esperti qualificati, come quelli che vedete qui anche oggi presenti, e la guida dei docenti coordinatori del corso. Infine concludo dandoci ovviamente appuntamento, se Dio vuole, all'anno prossimo per la presentazione del cammino che appunto faremo da gennaio in avanti. Vi invito ora semplicemente a fermarvi qualche minuto in più perché abbiamo una degustazione dei prodotti tipici filippini che ci aspettano là dietro dall'inizio dell'evento, generosamente offerti dall'ambasciatrice, che ringrazio ancora una volta. Grazie a tutti e buona serata.